All right, for segment 2 today, Heathen Dog is going to regale us with the wonder and majesty of Mage the Ascension, which he actually ran for me, well, and a few of us that know him, back in the 90s. I will say that I had a fun time with it. You can say what you want about Heathen Dog when he says players have no agency and yada yada, and he could never run a game, so on and so forth. I was in his game, and it was a fun time. I have my character from 1990, whatever year that was, 7, 8, 6, whatever the hell it was. I have that character sitting right next to me right now, as a matter of fact. But before we get into all his fun stuff, we've got to tell you a couple things. And the first one is that we believe that role-playing games should take place in fantastic worlds. And Mage is a fantastic world if you get rid of all the goth nonsense. It's got Nefandi, which he does, but it's got Nefandi, and it's got magic, and it's got reality-bending powers, and et cetera, et cetera. It's great. And the focus of the game should be on role-playing. Hey, isn't that what the storytelling system is all about? Role-playing?
That's right.
And having a good time. The core values of #RPGate and any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. The charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the description below for the link to where you can make your hopefully tax-deductible donation. And finally, join us on Thursdays and Saturdays for more Heathen Dog as him and his wonderful team of dirty casuals play multiplayer games for your mockery and enjoyment on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. And here on our YouTube channel, you can watch these game-related segments live at 1 p.m. It's actually almost 4 p.m. Wow, Central Time. Check out the Friday night show stream where our panel of guests opine, comment, and energize on TTRPG hobby as a whole. It's a live stream, guys. Get over it. Subscribe, like, share, and he gets the cool blue background because I have the dome orange one.
I don't see that as bad, but okay. All right, we're going to talk about the background of Mage. Let's bring up the book. I'm not going to go through the book very much in this further thing, but I want you to be able to, see it. There you go. There's the book. Now this is a photocopy of my actual book. As you can see, the price tag in the top corner. So there you go. I have the hardcover book as well. This I'm going through first edition. Okay. The reason being is because there are like revised second edition stuff like that. So second edition fixes some stuff that I like, but Magic is purest in this first edition.
It's a second, right?
Yes.
Without the card.
Either second or revised. I forget the cover.
Oh, it says it right in the back.
Oh, okay, cool. Second edition. There you go. Now, the background is basically the same as the whole old world of Darkness. You have factions, clans, cults, whatever, of group of like-minded people. There are 3 to 5 of them in each game system, but they all have something in common. The wheel of life, the wheel of destiny, the triumvirate, the wild, the weaver, and the worm. It goes into much more detail on this in Werewolf, but it exists in all of World of Darkness. And the idea of this is there are phases to existence, and it's a constant movement. It's a revolution. It's a circle. There's no beginning. There's no end. It just keeps moving. For example, the wild is potential. The weaver is structure, and the worm is entropy, the breaking down. None of them are inherently evil. It all depends the way you use them. For example, there's a chair. You want a chair. Well, the chair, when the wood is a seed, it is wild. It is a wild chair. It is not there yet. It is the potential to be a chair. It has to grow into a tree. You have to get the wood. You have to carve it out of the wood and you put it together. And that is the weaver. That is, you are constructing reality. You are creating something from potential. And then the worm gets into it. It starts aging, deteriorating, like all things do. It gets older, will eventually break, will eventually decompose, become fertilizer for the next tree and the next possible chair. It goes back to becoming potential. Now, in Magic, it's important to know this because mages deal in altering reality. And this is the reality they are altering. So let's move on into Let's see here. Traits, magics, and we're not going to go. We're going to go to setting.
I can't
Page
type.
31. I will make it bigger. Don't worry. I wish I wrote this down, but I didn't write down this particular page number because I'm stupid. There we go. Okay, this is the one thing I get rid of. This right here.
It's
I
true.
get rid of this. The gothic punk idea. Now in chat, someone said it works in vampire, but not so much in werewolf and mage. I agree that it doesn't work so well in werewolf and mage. I don't want it in vampire either. I completely get rid of all that angsty nonsense, all of that woe is me, life is hard, stuff like that, because the gameplay itself is going to show you that it is a dark game. The characters do not automatically have to have a defeatist attitude, which is what the gothic punk idea actually makes them start out in their heads. Don't hamstring your players. Have the world beat them down like regular kids.
I remember you talking to me about your game. We're sitting in my car, and you're talking about the game, and you're like, "You should play it." I'm like, "No, dude. I look. I had enough of vampire, all this World of Darkness nonsense. I can't stand the gothy. Oh, my life sucks. Blah blah blah." And because you'd let me borrow the books, and you said we had to be hollow ones, and that's like the epitome of hollow ones. I'm like,
Yeah.
no. I said I can't do this. Like it's just too freaking annoying for me. And you're like, no. I get rid of all that stuff. And you had me sit in one of your games. It was one of the last ones Bob was there for. And I was like, okay, I can actually do this. I can play this game.
All right. So the first thing I do is get rid of the gothic punk nonsense. I mean, if you don't want to, that's fine. If you're going to LARP this, then keep it, right? But if you're not LARPing, you don't need it. Toss it. Get rid of it. Then we move on to mages, all the different the origins and the kinds of different mages. This is the different factions, and there are 4 main factions of groups of people, groups of mages that have a like-minded view of the world. There are the tradition mages, and these are mostly the people you're going to be as a player character in the game. You are a tradition mage. A tradition mage believes that magic is necessary to push the ideas of those who can't use magic, called sleepers, to make their lives better. It's our job to use our magic to not only make the situation on Earth better, but to expand the minds of the sleepers so one day they can awaken and become mages themselves. And the idea is when everyone becomes a mage, then the world is saved. That's their general idea of how the world works. The technocracy, on the other hand,
Are the good guys.
it depends on your point of view. It all depends on your point of view. The technocracy's idea of helping the world. Now, everyone wants to help. Everyone thinks they're the good guy. That's another.
That is true. That is true.
That is another really good point to make. Every faction thinks they're right, and for righteous reasons.
I have every Technocracy main book for 2nd edition that came out because I would rather run a Technocracy game. And I will say that by reading them, yes, they think they're absolutely the good guys, even though you're trained in this main book to think they're the bad guys.
Exactly. Yes. Now, the Technocracy believes that they can use magic in a way to shield the sleepers, the non-mages in the world, from danger, from harm, as long as they follow the tenets of science. They won't go astray and get themselves in trouble. Theirs is not the idea of shepherding knowledge onto the sleepers, but protecting them from the dangers of advanced knowledge.
Mhm.
So they treat sleepers like children, whereas the tradition mages treat sleepers like adolescents. They should be trained, they should be readied to harness this power, whereas the technocracy says, no, the power should be kept from them. They're not ready. They're never going to be ready. You don't let a 5-year-old use the stove, stupid. And then we go to, I'm going to go to the Nefandi next, because the 3 main ones are the traditions, the technocracy, and the Nefandi.
Mhm.
The Nefandis mage, excuse me, has basically sold their soul or avatar for power to the things that existed before things existed. Let me explain that a little better. The universe in this book is called the Tellurian. It is the sum total of everywhere you can possibly go. But there is some place outside of the Tellurian, outside of the universe. The universe is finite, but the darkness beyond the universe is infinite. And in that infinite, there are intelligent things that do not like the Tellurian being in their backyard and want it destroyed, want entropy to claim it 100%. The Nefandus Mage aligns himself with these powers beyond the universe to try and make that happen. Now, this, of course, can't be allowed to happen because it would break the triumvirate cycle. Entropy would take everything, and there'll be nothing left to be potential again. So they must be, destroyed at all costs. The traditions and the technocracy both believe the Nefandi need to go first because they're just bad. Because, if the tradition wins, there is some kind of survivability for the technocracy and vice versa. But if the Nefandi win, there is no survivability for anyone. And then there are the Marauders. The Marauders are mages who have gone insane. But in that insanity comes a kind of power. Reality has less of a hold on them. They can skirt the rules of reality much more blatantly because they just fanatically do not believe they apply to them at all. And that has some power. Belief
so
has power.
well that it's true.
Yeah, belief has power, especially if you can alter reality. Your belief will leak onto reality and affect it subconsciously.
I tried so hard to let Heathen Dog let me play a Marauder, and he got mad at me.
No, no. Just them being around screws up reality. All right, it just messes up the play for everybody else. Now, these people are dangerous to both the traditions and the technocracy for different things. So the Marauders are dangerous for tradition mages because they create too much of an anomaly, and instead of helping to teach sleepers to harness the power of altering reality, they pretty much just make reality just break whenever they're around. It's counterproductive to what they want to do. The technocracy hates Marauders because they are the opposite of what they're going. They're going for structure and control, whereas the Marauders are the opposite of that. They're like an anarchist libertarian on steroids. The opposite of any kind of control is what they do. So the technocracy,
let it all burn.
Exactly, let them all burn. Now, those are the groups in Mage, the Ascension, the main groups that you will run across or possibly play. Now, inside these groups are factions that believe basically the same thing as a group, but in a different manner. Now, reality is based on your ability to focus your will and use it to bend reality to what you want to happen. Now, all of these minor groups inside these four main ideology groups do it in a slightly different way. For example, there are the Celestial Chorus in the traditions. They believe
that's church. Just say it is church.
Yeah. It's an offshoot of any Catholic, Catholic Church or Catholicism or whatever.
If church actually had magic power, like to lay on hands, heal, and do weird stuff, the miracles of Jesus, like at your local corner church, that would be the Celestial Chorus.
Yeah. They believe in the one. There is a being that all souls come from, or some people believe that the one fractured himself into the millions and billions of souls that inhabit all humans. And if to create ascension, all humans must be awakened, and at that time the one will become conscious again, and God will be happy, and the world will be paradise, all that stuff. That's what they believe. In the technocracy, there is a faction called the New World Order. They believe controlling the sleepers, keeping them safe, using laws, using intimidation, whatever tactics they can use, using physical, real world tactics can keep them in line marching forward to the future in safety. And then there's another faction of the technocracy called Iteration X, which believes that technology, the advancement of technology, will make the sleepers stronger, better, faster, and yet at the same time keep them safe from
But you can only
uncontrolled
dole
magic.
it out so fast.
Exactly. You dole it out a little slowly, to let them get used to it. And then you give them more and more and more. And then suddenly they are, cybernetic or transcendent beings who now live in computers. That's the end goal for them because they're ultimately the safest they could possibly be. They're safe on that hard drive. Right? So there's all different little factions in there. Now, your job as a player character is to role play the teachings of your group, be it traditions, technocracy, nefandus, marauder, and then the influences of your small faction inside that group, be it the New World Order, the Celestial Choir, the Iteration X, Akashic Brotherhood, whatever. To use that to build your character's playstyle, because that's your foundation for how you see reality. And that becomes very important when we're talking about magic, because if it doesn't fit in your worldview, you can't do it, or you do it with significant minuses.
It's pretty simple to get things to fit your worldview. You do have to think about it.
You have to perform the mental gymnastics, and you have to convince the storyteller that it's possible, that it's doable. Yeah. That's the thing that a lot of people like about this game. It gives the player more agency than normal, say, D&D, because you can create any effect as long as it fits in your worldview and you have the points. You can create anything. You can do anything. You just have to convince the storyteller you can. But see, that's the beautiful symmetry of it. The storyteller handles reality. You as a mage are altering reality. You as a player are convincing the storyteller you can do this, which is the same thing as altering reality. I found that a fun little juxtaposition of player, game master, and character and world. I found that fun, that you're actually doing the same thing in real life that you're doing in the game.
The hardest part for me was dealing with is what I'm doing, and probably talk about this in the next segment, but is what I'm doing coincidental or vulgar.
I'm going to deal with that.
That was always the hard part for me. It's like, I know I can do this. How do I do this in a way where it's going to end up being coincidental? And for another tradition, it's actually easy, because that's what the tradition's about. Right. And you can see it through, the Native American dances or whatever. That's the Akashic Brothers. No, that's the martial artists.
Dream speakers.
Dream speakers. So it makes sense. But how do I do that as Order of Hermes? Which is, if you guys follow Pundit would be Order of Hermes. How do I make that work over here through the teachings of John Dee, and so forth? It's like, it's a little difficult.
Yeah, to expand on his example, a dream speaker usually has a Native American or Aborigine or Australian Aborigine view on the world. So their magic that they perform is going to be filtered through the lens of their belief. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, they can do this thing where they can open a portal and go to anywhere in the world by using incense, using a medicine lodge, or a dream catcher, whatever. Right? How do I do that as a son of ether, whose reality is filtered through the lens of steampunk era like technology, or archaic Victorian ideas of what science really is? How do you make that mental change to have the same effect using this different lens? That's up to the player. The player has to figure out how to do that.
That was the word that was the Native American sweat lodges. Some
hallucinating stuff, and
but they're actually using correspondence magic to see
magic, and you're not hallucinating going there. You're actually going there.
Yeah.
But it's believable because you just say, "Oh, it was an hallucination," or someone else will say.
Now, how does somebody from the Celestial Chorus do that? Who has to try to find in the Bible?
Baptists do it all the time. They shake and roll around and stuff like that on the ground.
Pentecostals.
What's that?
Pentecostals.
Pentecostals, whatever. Yeah. Sorry. But so it can be explained in many different ways. It depends on the lens that you have to explain it. And that's depending on what group you are and what faction within that group you belong to.
And to be clear, the technocracy has somewhat of the same problem. One, the different technocratic orders, one, they don't fully get along. They do in like the end goal, the overarching end goal. So it seems like it's traditions
Save
against
humanity from themselves.
Yeah.
Keep them in the dark.
But
That's
they
their
work
end
just
goal.
as much
Everyone can
against
agree
each
with it.
other.
Yeah. But they all have different little ideas on how to do that.
Yep.
So sometimes they get into conflict.
Mhm.
Sometimes. Now, all of this takes place in the current day. All right. In first edition, it says it's 1990, 1995, 2000, whatever. All right. But you can easily just make it current day. Just 2023. That's where we're playing. So all of the technology you have around you, that's what you have here. All of the religions that you have in the world now, you have in this world too. The only problem is the world of darkness is slowly spiraling to a stop, which is covered in the final books of the Old World of Darkness called the Time of Judgment, where now either you win or you lose.
And you did a video series on those. I
did.
liked
I
your
did a video series
presentation of them, but
on
I
the
didn't
big
like
three.
the.
I did a video series on the big three: Vampire, Mage, and Werewolf. All of their end times books, and Vampire was the best. Mage was the second best. Werewolf is trash. I mean, it's not as good.
I didn't like the Mage one at all, but
No, okay.
not your presentation of it, but I didn't like.
I understand. And then, of course, now we get into Magic, and that will be the end of this video, which is background.
Look,
Next one,
it's got the K on there. Such a 1990s
I know,
occult
Magic.
thing.
Yes, yes. So we're going to be talking about the spheres of magic, how they work, arete, which I hate pronouncing that word correctly.
I'm actually surprised you said it, because
Yeah,
you wouldn't
I
even
hate
let
it,
us say it that way.
But this is a semi-professional environment now, so I got to do it.
Fair. I remember that. He would not let us say it the way it's supposed to be pronounced.
No, stop saying Greek shit. I don't like it. Yeah, that's what I do.
All right, let's hit these comments, and then we'll move on to the next one. Game with ADHD, who has a channel that you all should be subscribed to as well. Check him out. Says, I've played more World of Darkness than any other games. That's what the GM was running, but I hate Vampire. I don't want to play the bad guy.
I understand. And in Vampire, you are straddled in the beginning. Even if you take away all of the gothic punk nonsense, you're still a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
You still eat people to live. You can't be the good guy. That at best you can be an anti-hero. So I understand. I get it. You have to be in the right mindset to play Vampire correctly.
Matt Tom says, I hate Werewolf. I typed that in. I just can't even. It's like I don't even know you anymore. There's nothing about Werewolf I enjoyed. Like, I only played it a couple of times, to be fair, but
it's way too hippie for me. And it's
hippie and violent at the same time.
Yeah. It is the hippiness is baked into the system. Unlike in Mage, where you can just remove the gothic sissy parts of it and you still have a game. If you remove the hippie parts of Werewolf, you broke the game.
Yeah, but to be fair, I didn't really like Vampire either. I played a lot of it because that is what people were playing in the 90s, but no, Mage is the only one I actually like. The rest of them I either tolerate or don't like, but Mage is the only one I actually like. Crafty says, it's Sunday. Have you tithed today?
Someone needs an extra penny.
Someone's not going to get to heaven without that extra penny. That's funny. The unfortunate consequence of the push of technology is it gave ignorant woke people a voice on Twitter. The technocracy effed up there.
Yes, they did. Iteration X messed up on that one because they also handle the internet. And they screwed up. Twitter, TikTok, they messed up. Big mistake.
Thought you were ready for social media. You weren't.
The New World Order is pissed because you set back their agenda or program or what they call it by decades because of Twitter and TikTok. Sucks.
And this last one, I drink therefore I am, says you can do anything you want until the paradox backlash comes, and we will talk about that next.
Segue into Magic itself, because we're going to talk about vulgar coincidental and what paradox is, what it does, and how to skate it, and the difference in die rolls between coincidental and paradox. So hit up the the magic banner.